Hello, everyone. It's Cassandra and Paula, all in for 2025. We are actually recording this video on April 1st. So happy April, happy spring. And so, in true spring fashion, we're talking about hitting the reset button, re energizing, recommitting to whatever it is that you have going on. Because it's been a long winter. It's easy to get sort of like discouraged, but then at the same time, spring brings new opportunities and new life. So that's what we're going to talk about, right, Paula?
Yes, we are, and I'm here for it. Let's go.
So, how is it playing out in your world?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that anytime you're trying to do something new, something different, you're going to hit challenges. It's going to get frustrating. You're going to have wins. You're going to have losses. That's just going to just happen. But it is what you take out of it, and how you move forward. And so, yeah, it's kind of been a up and down first quarter. But I literally said, today it's a new season. It's a new quarter. Um, it's a new month. And so part of this is the reset. We talk about this, right? The reset button. We can reset. And sometimes you just need that, right? I told myself yesterday, I'm going to shake off. I'm going to shake off this first quarter. And not that it was horrible by any means. What I'm saying is sometimes things don't go the way that you want them to. And so I have the opportunity now to reset. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And when you identify that and recognize the power of reset, nothing I can do about what's happened in the past month, 3 months, but what I can do is how I show up today, showing up with you, being here. That's a reset. That's really making sure that you're very focused. So again, not I'm not going to sit here and say things were horrible. No, I'm not going to do that. What I am going to say, did it go as well as I wanted it to? It did not. That's okay. Because again, we're all in for 2025. So still doing things that make me uncomfortable. And that's the piece that I think of that's so important. So I think the answer to the question, the shorter answer is it's okay. It's not great, it's not awesome, but it's okay. And okay is just okay. What about you?
Yes. And I mean, I teach this. It actually got me really thinking because I just had this conversation with a client yesterday. That when you're as a performer, right? And I work with speakers and leaders and entrepreneurs on just being able to show up more, and more in their power, right? And sometimes you have to get up and talk. Sometimes you have to do a speech. Sometimes you have to get up and perform. And I talk about the reset in terms of what happens when things don't go right on stage.
Yeah,
So I'm going to use that lens to sort of describe my April or my, because that is something that the pivot, the ability to think on your feet, the ability to go, okay, I had a gig one time where like literally the drum set behind me fell down and we were deciding whether to continue. Like the band kept going.
yeah,
The band
yeah,
played on, but the band kept going and I turned around because it was an electric drum kit and it kind of fell down and he was still playing it. And I turned around, I had the mic in my hand and I said, are we going? He's like, go. And we just kept singing. And I was like, it's your ability, I think, sometimes to like have things not always go right, maybe
yeah,
have things feeling heavy or not going as planned, and be able to take that moment and go, I'm going anyway. It's our all in for 2025 thing. And so your ability to adapt and reset and start over, but continue, I think is what helps define us in however we decide to proceed in our lives, right? And I think that I've had to do that so many times in my life because I've been an entrepreneur for so long, where I had to do a reset. And sometimes I call it my 5 year cycle because there's times where I feel like I'm like in a cycle of growth and building, and then I kind of come down, and then I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm not really sure where I want to go from here. I have to
yeah,
figure out what I want to let go of, what I want to keep, what I want to add. And so I think spring is a really good time of year to do that, to say, what do I want to let go of? What
mhm,
do I want to keep? What do I want to take forward or build that's new? And that's something that I'm trying to really reconnect with in myself as a creative, but also as a speaker and a coach. I want to find what is the thing that lights me up? Where's my mojo? Where's my sparkle?
yeah,
And my two words again were peace and consistency. So it's like balancing the peace part of it so that my mental health and physical health and all that stays intact, right?
yeah,
But over here saying, okay, what lights me up? still knowing that I have to do some things that I don't love, like you said, the things that are out of my comfort zone. But I think that we have a really good opportunity at any time to hit the reset button and reassess. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a choice. So much of what we all do, it's how we choose to respond to things, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. I always say that. And I think, when we think about resetting, that's exactly what it is. It's a choice. It's a choice to either, we talked about it a few weeks ago, right? Feel what you feel. It's a choice to mire in it for whatever is going on and or you can choose to feel what you feel, but then also get up and reset. And so that's what this is it doesn't necessarily matter what maybe happened in the last season, in the last month, in the last hour, but you can choose to reset. And I think there's power in that. And that's the piece of what I call just positivity, is being very positive. And, I had a client last week and we talked about the power of self-awareness. And so much of what I talk about is communication, emotional intelligence, but self-awareness is one of those things that we don't do enough of. We don't recognize how we're showing up. We don't recognize what we're saying, what we're doing. And when you can increase your self-awareness, boy, it's so much easier to reset. Now, it doesn't mean it's always easy. It doesn't mean that it's always, one of the things, first things you do. But what I'm saying is the more that you practice, the more that you do, the more that you are intentional about being aware of how you show up, it does matter. And I think even for me, when I think about things that I want to happen or things that I are working on, yes, it can stress you out. It absolutely can stress you out. We've talked about this, right? I'm about to launch 3 different group coaching programs. Yes, it can stress you out. What I also can be very excited about, and so the reset button is, even if you're stressed, reset that, reframe it, think about it from a different lens. And I think sometimes we spend so much time looking at the negative piece or just not focusing on the good. And a lot of what I've done in my daily practices now is being positive, looking at the good, even when things don't go well, reframe, reset. And again, I'm gonna say it, I'm not perfect at it. So no, I have some really bad days. Yes, I have some bad moments. But I also have recognized that it's only a bad moment, right? It doesn't mean that life is this terrible thing. No, it's just resetting and making sure that I reframe. So I'm completely on board with just again recognizing the power of resetting and knowing that we have the power to do that because it is a choice. And we have to remember that we're choosing our behavior, we're choosing how we react, and we're choosing how we show up.
And I believe that, I was just talking about this the other day. I really truly believe that every person is an artist in their own way.
Mm.
And that's what has driven my work for 30 plus years, is sort of
Yeah.
finding that inner light thing. And it could be, cooking, it could be communication, it could be whatever. And I think that we
Yeah.
all sometimes get stuck in not being creative, because we're all creative. Whether we
Yeah.
think we are or we are not, we are all creative because we're all creating in the moment. So whatever
Yeah.
that moment is. And I think for people that are in business for themselves, especially, we get bogged down in sort of the day to day
Mhm.
and sort of doing the business and doing the things that we need to get done on the list. And we
Yeah.
forget the part where we still should have time to be visioning. We still should have time to
Yes.
be dreaming. We still should have time to
Yep.
be thinking about, like, where do I want to go and what excites me, and like, how can I build something that I love, that other people love, and what does
Yeah.
that look like? And I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing for me, at least, that when I don't feel motivated, it's when I don't have those things in front of me where I'm going, I'm building this cool thing right now and I'm excited about it.
Yep.
The other stuff
Yep.
then becomes, just the stuff I need to do to get it done. It's like I tell my,
Yeah.
for years as a teacher, as a voice coach, I've told people, it's like, if you don't practice, and that's not necessarily the fun part for a lot of people, right? If you
Yeah.
don't practice, you're not going to get better. And
Yeah.
by getting better and practicing, it gives you more freedom to be
Yeah.
artistic, to be creative,
Yeah.
to express yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think spring, to your point, Paula, is a really good chance to not only look at like your business or life and go, what are the things that are lighting me up? But
Yeah.
also, am I balancing the things that are lighting me up, with this other work I have to get done for my business that wears me out, right? So there's things that worry
Yeah.
about, there's things that light you up. There has to be some sort of balance between the two. Otherwise, we just go down the road of this is hard.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and it goes back to my words. My words are joy, peace, and happiness, but my word for the year is focus. And so it's also that as well, right? It's resetting for the things that do bring you joy, right? And it's also recognizing, yes, that everything's not going to bring you joy. For many people, they know I am not an advocate of social media. I don't necessarily enjoy it, but I do it because it's part of what I know I have to do when you have a business. It doesn't bring me joy. But what I recognize is if you're going to be focused, Paul, you got to do this, right? You have to do certain things. And so I'm not going to let that be the thing that just brings me down every day. It's just get it done and keep it moving. And I think sometimes we have to be reminded of that. We just have to be reminded. And even in the mindset of resetting, there are days where things happen and I have to remind myself of my joy, peace, and happiness. Those are my words. And that's what I want around me. And if it's not around me, I don't want it. And I have to really say that out loud to myself so that I can remind myself, don't let whatever is happening to you define you. And I think, again, I want to continue to say this. I am not saying that's always easy. We talked about it last week. You're not alone. And I want to say that to people, like, you're not by yourself and just recognize that. And so even when resetting, it can sometimes be tough. It's sometimes not as easy to say, let me turn it on, let me turn it off. Okay, let me reset. Sometimes you gotta, again, feel what you feel. But I recognize that again, in this season, starting something new. We just talked about before we started about walking, and I love to walk, but I haven't been doing it consistently. And now it's a new month, it's a new season, it's nicer outside. Starting today, let's go. I'm going back to it. That brings me joy, and I know that. And so my reset is even around the physical of just starting with the health, right? And starting there because if you don't have that, we know we don't have anything. So again, that reset piece is so important. And I want all of us to understand just the power of that. Whatever it is you need to do, it's okay. Whatever happened yesterday happened. Let's reset. Let's reset. Let's go into this new season and show up. Be you. I always say, be you, do you. Just do you. That's what resetting is about, is figure out what's good for you. Because here's the thing, somebody will always have an opinion about what you're supposed to do. And if nothing else I've learned in this season of entrepreneurship, everybody's opinion don't matter. It doesn't. And so what is important to them, to me? Yes, I can hear what your feedback is and all the things, but sometimes we got to follow our gut. And sometimes our gut is far more important and accurate than what somebody else thinks. So again, reset, you all. Please reset.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I think we touched on it last time about just, there's so much input coming, our way a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So much advice, so much information, so much social media, so much, all of it. And
All
part
of it.
of the reset, at least for me and for clients I work with too, is sifting through all of that to find what's true and authentic for you. Sifting through
Yes.
all that to be like, does this resonate for you? And I think that can be
Yes.
part of the reset. It can be part of the sitting down, journaling, writing down the things that brought you joy that day or week, and reminding yourself of those things. So
Yep.
resetting to remind yourself of the things
Yes.
that actually also that went well, because I think
Yes. Yes.
too often we focus on the things that aren't going well
Yes.
instead of looking at like, wait, I taught a really good class this week. Wait, I just, got another speaking opportunity, or one of my
Yes.
clients sent me a win that they were really, really
Yes.
excited about. And I think that those are the things that we don't always remember to go, wow, that was a good thing. Wait, that's
Yes.
good. So,
Yes.
saying that. So, do you want to wrap us up, Paula?
Yeah, I just think one of the things that we do need to do, and thank you for saying that, because I think the last piece I'll just say is sometimes we do have to be reminded of all the good things that we do. And so I know that that can be hard. And I was just, telling you a story, early about yesterday, how a group of students came up to me during lunch in the cafeteria of the school that I teach and just talked about how great of a substitute teacher I was. And they really loved me. And that was so wonderful. And I remember just thinking in the moment, like, this is odd. And I had a colleague sitting next to me who even said, I don't think people would even believe this was happening had I not been here. And I said, exactly. I said, but it didn't even matter about that because what I felt was really good. It was my reminder of what I do well. I teach, I coach really well. And I know that now. And that was one of those things. It's not that I didn't know, but sometimes that extra, word from somebody helps. So just remind yourself, you all, that you all are doing something really great. Whatever that is, remind yourself of that. Even if nobody else tells you, it's okay. But whatever it is, just make sure that you're resetting when something doesn't go well. And in this new season, in this new wonderful season of spring, let's make sure we're all resetting. You deserve it. And the world is waiting on you. I'm always being told that the world's waiting on you. The world's waiting on you all too. So let's go out there and reset.
So I love that the world is waiting on you. Let's make that our big call to action. So go out and be in it. Do stuff.
Yeah.
So big reset, all in for 2025. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you again next time.
Bye.